Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at game number 2 of the grand finals of the Paris Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour. Now, yesterday I suffered a very difficult defeat in the first game of the match against 5-time world champion Magnus. Today, we're back for the second game. I have the white pieces, and I am in a must-win situation. So what that means is that if I win the second game with the white pieces, we go to a tiebreaker. If Magnus beats me or the game is a draw, he will be crowned the grand champion and win $200,000. Alright, so without further ado, let's jump right into the action. Now, unlike a lot of positions that we've gotten so far in the Fisher Random, 959 possible positions, this is one of the very few throughout the entire event where none of us were able to reach a clear conclusion on what the best first move is for white. Now, you could say that's a little bit unlucky from the standpoint that the last couple of games where I've had black against both Magnus and Vincent Keimer, there were a couple of very clear-cut plans where white could fight for the center. Now, when I mean none of us had a clear-cut idea, we analyzed pretty much every move during the 10 minutes before the game started between myself, Fabiano, and Jan Nepomniachtchi. Now, ultimately, Jan concluded that the best move was to play knight f3 and d4, trying to fight for the center very early. Both Fabiano and myself opened with the move b4. Now, the reason that both of us thought b4 made a lot of sense is that you take some space on the queen side, you also have the queen and a rook, so you can try to push the p very quickly here. But additionally, when you play b4, this is similar to the opening that's known as the orangutan. Obviously, it's a different assortment of the pieces, but it's very cool to play. So I go b4. Now, Jan played d4. I also thought c4 was a move to try and attack the pawn on h7, g3, even g4 maybe. I wasn't really sure what to do, but ultimately b4 is what I played. So Magnus plays move c6 here, opening up the diagonal and attacking the pawn on h2. And here I play the move g3, slamming the door shut on the threat, but also opening up the diagonal for the fianchettoed bishop. Magnus goes g6, bishop b2, and now we get the move knight to f6. Now, what's funny about this position is knight f6 is a slight error here from Magnus. He should have played the move e5, trying to build a big black center very quickly, because after the move knight to f6, the very obvious move pawn to a4 gives white a little bit of an advantage due to the space on the queen side. Now, again, a4 is a move that without knowing is very hard to play. That's why I'm laughing a little bit. Another option was to play the move c4 here, but after c4, black can play a move like b5, contesting the queen side, something like e5 as well, and it's just not clear why white should have an advantage. Now, the reason that I mentioned these two moves is that when I played the move f4 in the game, there are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, one of the things you want in a must-win situation are all the pieces on the board. Obviously, I have achieved that. All the pieces are on the board, but also you want an imbalance in the pawn structure. Now, when I play this move f4 here, I'm trying to take some space, stop e5, open up the diagonal, and I thought it made a lot of sense. This move, however, is an inaccuracy for me. Now, had I played the move c4 or a4 for that matter, the move that Magnus played in the game after f4 would not have been available, which is this move a5, because after the move b5 here, I'm taking a lot of space. c4, a5, also just to show it, it's the same thing. I play b5 here, and white should be better. Now, I did very briefly consider c4, but I didn't know what I was going to do, and so I thought f4 made more sense. On top of that, in another game on one of the other boards featuring Fabiano and Vincent, Fabiano played this move f4. It was a slightly different pawn structure, but the fact that I had seen Fabiano go for this made me feel very confident. However, Magnus plays the best move here. He's not considered the best player in the world without good cause, and he plays the move a5. Now here, I cannot play the move b5 because black would simply take the juicer, and now I've sacked a pawn and I have nothing. So I go a3 to guard the pawn, Magnus castles, and now I play the move knight to f3. Magnus goes d5, and here I decide to play the move knight f2. Now, there's nothing wrong with this move per se, but probably what I should have played in retrospect is this move bishop to g2, intending to castle my king and avoiding this knight f2 move, because by keeping the knight on d1, black has no option to try and trade off these knights. Now, I could have tried to castle as well, but after castles and the move knight to e4, bishop takes h8, and king takes h8, I simply didn't know what I was doing. Black has this great knight in the center of the board here. I can always play a move like d3, but after queen a7, e3, and knight to d6 here, knight can go to f5. I have a weak pawn on e3. Black can open up the a file down the road, and it's very, very tough to play. Had I played the move bishop to g2, the show goes on here. Black should probably play something like queen to a7 or bishop to g4 perhaps. It's not a big advantage for white here, but it does keep the piece on the board, and more importantly, there is no straightforward plan for black. Instead, I play the move knight f2, and now Magnus plays a brilliant move, which is knight to g4, offering to trade off the knights and the bishops. Now, the reason I say that this move is brilliant is because you have to keep in mind what the match situation is and how that relates to the strategy that you have. So when Magnus played the move knight g4 prior to this moment, I actually was starting to feel fairly decent about my position. All the pieces are on the board. I'm going to castle, keep the game going. But as soon as Magnus played knight g4, I realized that I was already in a tough spot here as it relates to winning the game. Now, I didn't think I was necessarily worse here, but the problem is it's must win. You have to create some imbalances, and trading off all the pieces is simply going to lead to a draw. So I trade the bishops. Here I play the move knight to d3. Magnus goes f6 here. Another excellent decision from Magnus because the one piece here that is misplaced for black is this knight on d8. And when Magnus goes f6, he has this very nice maneuver of bringing the knight to f7 and d6. So here I castle. Magnus plays knight f7, and now I go for queen b2. Magnus plays knight to d6, and now I play this move pawn to e3, and here we get the move knight h6. Now this move is maybe not the absolute best move from Magnus, but I really do like this move because the knight is going back to f7, where it will anchor the other horse, but also if you get the knight to f7, you can play for e5, and then the third point behind this move that's really nice is now the light square bishop can go to any of these three squares. So I go knight f2, trying to stop the bishop from moving. Magnus plays knight g4. I go back, he goes back, and now I play the move bishop g2. Now, of course, in a normal scenario, probably I would have played knight f2 and made the draw, but it's the last game. It's must win. You can't make a threefold repetition. This is freestyle after all. If you make a quick draw here, then frankly, what's the point of even playing, especially since there are no ratings on the line? So I play the move bishop to g2. Magnus goes knight f7, and now I play the move knight to d4, trying to argue that D's knights on d3 and d4 are better than D's knights on d6 and f7. Magnus plays knight c4, queen c3, and now we get the move pawn takes pawn. Now, around this moment that I played knight to d4, I was actually feeling quite confident in my position. I had this feeling that maybe I could claim a slight advantage because as long as black can't get this big black center with the two pawns on d5 and e5, my knight on d4 has a little bit of a bastion as it can't easily be removed. So Magnus goes knight c4, queen c3, takes, and now we get to move e5. Now, around this point in the game, I actually started to have a little bit of a shift in terms of my opinion about the position. I thought that up to this moment, right around knight d4, I was maybe a little bit worse, but as soon as we got to this moment, I started feeling very confident that maybe I could create some chances because even though you have this big black center, there's a nice diagonal, you can play e4, knight a5 to undermine the pawns, and maybe there's some small glimmer of hope. So Magnus plays the move queen to d6, and now I go knight to a5, trying to remove this great knight on c4, which is attacking all of D's pawns. Magnus trades, and now he goes for king g8. Now, in this position, I played the move e4, and this is probably the best move here. You'll notice that time is even. We both have about 50 minutes here, but if I don't go e4, I'm actually just going to end up much worse. One sample line that I saw was something like rook to b1, e4, let's just say knight c5, and now after queen to e7, the black knight can go to g5 or e5. There's serious light square weaknesses on top of black having the connect 4, and more importantly, this bishop on g2 is very, very sad. All these pawns stop the bishop from scoping anything. So I do play e4. Magnus takes, and now I play the move bishop takes e4 right away. Now, when I played e4, I spent 10 minutes because I was trying to make other lines work. One line that I almost played, which would have actually lost the game, but it's kind of cool to show, is rook to f1. Black goes e4, and now I play the move rook to f6, attacking the queen. But here there's a very nice in-between move, pawn to d4, attacking the queen. Black is also attacking the rook and the knight at the same time. Everything is on pre. So if I play queen takes pawn, black trades the queens and wins the horse. If I move the queen away, then I lose the rook on f6. And if I take the queen after black takes, the rook and the knight are both still under attack. So when I move the rook, black takes the knight, and now black has an extra knight and will win the game. So I go e4 here. Very logical move as I want to open up the diagonal for the bishop. Magnus takes, and now I make a mistake when I play the move bishop takes e4. Now, this move is not really a mistake per se, but there was a glimmer of hope here that I could have played the move knight to c5, attacking the pawn on e4, and the reason I did not play this is after knight to g5, I thought that black was completely fine, but the computer shows a brilliant concept here, which is white can play h4, knight to f3, takes. If black takes with the rook, there's knight takes pawn, attacking the queen. If black trades the queens here, the rook and the bishop are under attack now, and white wins material. And if black goes queen f8, I can simply play queen takes e5, and I have one extra pawn. So computer says that black should take with a pawn, but now after the move king to f2 here, even though black has one extra pawn, black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and white has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, white is actually better here because the bishop can't touch anything. All of these pawns are on the opposite color. Additionally, e5 is weak, b7 is weak, f3 is weak, and there's no way to get at this king. White's not winning or anything, but after rook to d8, d3, queen e7, and something like knight to e4, white has chances to win. So, this is something that if I had seen it, I obviously would have gone for it, but as I didn't see it, I decided to take the pawn instead, and now Magnus plays bishop to h3, and here I play the move bishop to h1. Now, this is not a move that I wanted to play here. I initially wanted to go knight to f2, but after knight g5, the knight guards the bishop, there's some pressure on the f-file, and I just didn't see why I should be better. Now, apparently here after knight g5 and queen to e3, white is better. I'm not actually sure why. After h6, white can apparently play rook to b1. I don't know if the engine that I have on my computer is super weak or not. I really didn't think this was much at the time during the game. I felt that my king is very weak here. There are threats like queen f6, and I just didn't really believe in my chances. So I played bishop to h1 here. This move to me made a lot of sense because now knight to g5 will not attack the bishop here. And if black plays knight g5 in this position, now I can go queen takes pawn here. The rook covers the back rank, so there are no checkmates, and white should win the game. So I go bishop h1. Magnus plays queen to f6 here, and now I go for the move knight f2. Now, at this point, I have to be very careful in this situation because if I play a move like, let's say, a6, after knight to g5, black sets up a very dastardly checkmate threat here. Say I take the juicer on b7, there's queen f1 check, rook takes queen, rook takes rook, and the white king on g1 is stuck. So this would, of course, be checkmate. So I go knight f2. Magnus plays knight g5, I go queen to e3, guarding my knight, and now we get the move pawn to e4. Now in this position, I played the move rook to e1. This is a slight inaccuracy. I should probably play the move rook to b1, but similar to the game, after a move like queen to f5, even though my rook is on b1 where it targets the pawn, it's very hard to argue that white is better here because there are all these issues with my king and checkmate ideas here. If I play a move like rook b7, black goes queen takes a5, rook b1, queen f5, and even though this pawn on e4 is weak, I can never really capture it here because if I take, the queen f1 idea is in play. If I take, it's still a draw, and unless I can somehow win this pawn on e4, the game will end peacefully. So I could have tried rook b1, I considered it briefly, but ultimately I played the move rook to e1. Magnus now played the move queen to f5, and here I basically make a draw offer with this move bishop takes e4. Now this is not a move that I wanted to play, but at this point I didn't see any way forward. I knew that I could go rook to a1 back, but after queen to f6, I didn't see any real plan, so I decided to basically throw it in, or throw in the towel I should say, and effectively offer a draw with this bishop takes e4 move. Now I would have loved to have played on, but at this point I also thought there were chances I could end up losing the game as well. I just didn't see a path forward. Now, after rook to a1, just to show it one more time, rook to a1, queen f6, there are also lines like c3, for example, which I saw, but if black just waits with queen f5 and queen to f6, I still don't see a way to go for the win. So I decided to play the move bishop takes e4, Magnus takes back, and now I play the move knight takes h3. Now, of course, here it's the same problem. If I go queen takes e4, there's queen f2, and then queen f1 mate. If I play knight takes e4, queen f1 is still checkmate, so I have to take the bishop on h3. Now Magnus correctly plays knight takes d2, I go knight f4, and Magnus finds the final move to end any hopes that I would have of winning this game, which is the move g5. Now, I was very mildly optimistic. I didn't expect it, of course, but I was hoping that Magnus might go for queen takes c2, because after h4, it stops g5. Even though black has one extra pawn here, I have all kinds of checks. I have h5 ideas, knight to e6 ideas, and actually it's surprising that the computer does give white an advantage here. But Magnus, of course, does not miss his opportunity. He plays g5, and now I must take the horse. If I move my horse away, there's knight to f3 check, forking the king and the rook, and winning the game for black. So I go queen takes knight, Magnus takes, I go queen f4, Magnus trades, takes on f4, and now we have reached a rook and pawn endgame where both sides have 3 pawns on the board, and there is simply no chance for me to win. So I go for the move rook to e8, Magnus plays king f7, rook h8, king g6, rook g8, king h6, and now I play the move rook b8. Magnus goes rook a4, I take, he takes, and now on move number 41, I play rook to b3, offer Magnus a draw, which he gladly accepts, and this ends the match in Magnus's favor. Now, there's really nothing I can do to play on here. If anybody's trying, it's black, but after rook c5 and c3 here, let's just say h5, king f2, this game will end in a draw. Both sides have 2 pawns. There's just nothing that can be done. So there's no reason to really prolong the inevitable at this point. So it's a little bit disappointing in terms, this means that Magnus wins this Paris Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour. He gets a top prize of $200,000. This means that I'm relegated to second place and a grand total of, or grand prize winning of $140,000. Now, obviously, that's not too shabby. I would have liked a little bit more, but I also think at the end of the day, I got a position today where, frankly, I never really had a chance to win. If the best opportunity that I can see was probably around move number 4, where I should have played this move a4. This was probably the best opportunity, so I can't be that unhappy. Maybe later there was a knight c5, h4 idea as well on move, I'll just go forward to show you guys very quickly. There was this idea with this h4 as well. This one, to me, is not really all that human. a4 was not obvious, so really the opportunities I had in this game were very, very limited, and so it's a little bit unlucky, you could say, from that standpoint, but ultimately, Magnus was very, very good today. He defended, did not give me any chances. He shut the door, and so the game ended peacefully. So how do I feel overall about the event? Now, I'm very happy to have finished second place. If you told me before the event that I would be in second place at the end of the day, I would have been happy. I thought I played pretty well. Yesterday was a little bit unfortunate. I made a couple of errors. I still had chances up until the final blunder when I didn't play rook takes h2, but that's kind of how it goes at the end of the day. Sometimes it's not meant to be, and Magnus, of course, kept pressure on me throughout the game. So, I get second place here. I'm pretty happy overall. I would say that looking at the last month or so of chess tournaments, I've been on a great streak. I won the American Cup, where I played 8 classical games and gained 2 rating points. I won the American Cup Blitz. I finished second here. Sure, I would have liked to have won, but at the end of the day, Magnus played great chess, and that's just how it is, which I've said for a 10th time already. So, on that note, I hope you guys have enjoyed this recap from the grand final of the Paris Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour. I am going to be taking a break for a couple of weeks, so you'll probably be seeing some educational speedrun type videos and other stuff. I'm actually taking my first vacation in nearly, I would say, 5 years in terms of a proper vacation. I'm going to be going to Japan for a couple of weeks, so it'll be a bit before I'm back with some fresh content. But at any rate, I hope you guys have enjoyed the wild ride here in Paris during this freestyle tournament where I finished second place. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and we'll be back with some more great content in 2 weeks' time when I come back from Japan. See you guys soon, and have a great rest of your day. See you. Bye.